For most of my life, I believed success was something you could measure. It had numbers attached to it, companies built, impossible problems solved, goals achieved that other people said couldn't be done. Every milestone became another mountain to climb, and every summit revealed another peak waiting in the distance. I convinced myself that this was enough, that if I just kept moving, kept creating, kept pushing the boundaries of what was possible, then one day I would arrive at a place called fulfillment. I thought winning meant never slowing down. I thought purpose was found only in relentless ambition, but there is something no achievement ever prepared me for. You can stand at the center of extraordinary success and still feel an unexpected silence. The applause fades, the headlines become yesterday's news. The excitement of reaching one destination quickly transforms into the pressure of finding the next. It's an endless cycle if your identity depends entirely on what you accomplish. I didn't realize that I had become so focused on building a future that I had forgotten to ask who I wanted to share that future with. Then you entered my life in a way I never expected. You didn't arrive with grand speeches or dramatic promises. You simply brought a different perspective. You looked at me in a way that wasn't filtered through accomplishments, titles, or expectations. You saw a person, not a project. You weren't impressed by what I had built as much as you cared about who I was becoming, and that changed something deep inside me. For the first time, I started questioning the definition of success I had carried for years. Was winning really about collecting more achievements, or was it about finding someone who could make those achievements meaningful? What is the value of reaching incredible destinations if there's no one beside you to celebrate the journey? What is the point of creating the future if your own heart feels disconnected from the present? You never asked me to dream smaller. You never suggested I abandon my ambitions. Instead, you quietly reminded me why dreams matter in the first place. You made me realize that love isn't a distraction from purpose. It gives purpose a heartbeat. Suddenly, every challenge felt less lonely, every victory felt richer, and even failure became easier to carry because I knew someone believed in me beyond the outcome. Looking back now, I understand that I wasn't searching only for success all those years. I was searching for significance. I was searching for connection without even knowing it. I thought I was building a life through achievements, but you showed me that a truly meaningful life is built through relationships. Success may fill your calendar, but love fills your soul. And in the moment you quietly redefined what winning truly meant, I discovered that the greatest victory of my life was never something I achieved. It was someone I found. After realizing that success alone could never satisfy the deepest parts of the human heart, I began to understand something even more surprising. The greatest gift anyone can offer isn't admiration, it's understanding. For a long time, people saw the vision. They saw ambitious goals, impossible deadlines, bold ideas, and an obsession with solving problems that others avoided. They saw someone constantly reaching for the future. And while there was truth in that, it was never the complete picture. Most people only meet the version of you that the world introduces. They know your accomplishments, your failures, your public image, your reputation. They create stories about who you are based on what they can observe from a distance. But very few ever ask what it costs to carry those dreams. Very few wonder about the sleepless nights, the doubts that arrive when the room is quiet, or the weight of making decisions that affect thousands of lives. It's easy to celebrate someone's confidence. It's much harder to recognize the vulnerability that often hides beneath it. You somehow saw past all of that. You never treated me like a symbol. You never measured my worth by the headlines, the interviews, or the next breakthrough. You looked beyond the mission and found the man carrying it. That may sound like a small difference, but it changed everything. Because when someone loves you only for what you accomplish, you begin to fear that every failure will cost you their affection. But when someone loves you for who you are, even your failures become safe places to learn instead of reasons to hide. There is an incredible freedom in being fully seen. It's the freedom to admit you don't have every answer, the freedom to laugh at your mistakes, the freedom to set aside the armor for a while and simply exist without needing to prove anything. I didn't realize how exhausting it had become to constantly feel like I needed to live up to an image. You quietly reminded me that I never had to earn your acceptance. It was already there. That kind of love changes the way you move through life. You stop chasing perfection because you discover something better, authenticity. You stop trying to impress because you're finally understood. And strangely enough, when you're accepted at your most human, you become even stronger. Not because someone removed your challenges, but because someone shared the weight of carrying them. You taught me that real partnership isn't about standing in the spotlight together. It's about standing beside each other when nobody is watching. It's choosing loyalty over applause, honesty over appearances, and presence over performance. The world may continue to celebrate achievements, but the heart celebrates something entirely different. It celebrates the rare person who sees beyond the vision, beyond the mission, beyond every expectation, and still chooses to stay. That is the kind of love that doesn't just change your life. It quietly gives you the courage to become the person you were always meant to be. For a long time, I believed there was a choice to make. Either you dedicate yourself completely to a mission, or you allow yourself to be distracted by everything else. I treated love as though it belonged in the second category, something beautiful perhaps, but something that could wait until the work was done. The problem was the work was never done. Every goal led to another goal. Every finish line became another starting point. If I kept waiting for the perfect moment to make room for love, that moment would never arrive. Then you came into my life, and without trying to change me, you changed the way I understood ambition itself. You never asked me to dream smaller. You never questioned the size of the challenges I wanted to take on. You never looked at my passion and asked me to become someone more ordinary. Instead, you stood beside me with a quiet confidence that reminded me I didn't have to carry everything alone. That realization didn't weaken my drive. It strengthened it. People often assume that love competes with purpose, as though the heart and the mind are rivals. But I discovered that they can become partners. When you know someone believes in you, not because of your victories, but because of your character, you begin to approach every challenge differently. You stop working to prove your worth. You start working because your life has meaning beyond the outcome. There were days when plans failed, when criticism grew louder than encouragement, when the weight of responsibility felt almost impossible to carry. Those moments didn't disappear after I met you. Life didn't suddenly become easier, but it became different. At the end of the hardest days, there was someone who reminded me that my value had never depended on whether everything went according to plan. That simple truth became a source of strength I never expected. I also realized something that surprised me. Some of my biggest dreams became clearer because of you. Love has a way of sharpening your vision. It reminds you why you're building, why you're sacrificing, and who you're hoping to create a better future for. The destination no longer exists only as an achievement on a list. It becomes a promise you want to keep for the people you care about. You taught me that determination doesn't have to come from pressure. It can come from gratitude. It can come from waking up each morning, knowing that someone is cheering for you in ways the world will never see. That kind of support is quiet, but it is incredibly powerful. It doesn't demand attention. It simply gives you the courage to keep moving when your own confidence begins to fade. And the more I experienced that kind of love, the more I understood that real partnership isn't about standing in each other's way. It's about becoming the wind behind each other's wings. You didn't become a detour in my journey. You became the reason the journey mattered in the first place. Looking back now, I can say with complete certainty that loving you never slowed me down. It transformed every step forward from a pursuit of success into a pursuit of significance, and that made every mile worth traveling. For most of my life, I believed strength meant having the answers before anyone asked the questions. It meant standing firm when uncertainty surrounded me, making difficult decisions without hesitation, and carrying pressure without letting it show. I thought resilience was built by hiding every crack, every doubt, every fear. If I could remain composed while everything around me was changing, then I believed I was truly strong. But there was one thing I underestimated. It's much easier to face impossible challenges than it is to let another human being see the parts of you that aren't certain. Building something extraordinary is difficult, but opening your heart without guarantees can feel even more terrifying. Machines follow logic, dreams follow determination. Love asks for trust, and trust has no blueprint. When you came into my life, you never demanded perfection. You never expected me to become someone who never struggled. Instead, you created a space where I didn't have to pretend. For someone who had spent so much time believing that strength meant carrying every burden alone, that was unfamiliar. At first, I didn't know what to do with that kind of acceptance. I remember realizing that our deepest conversations were never about achievements. They weren't about what had gone right or what the world thought. They were about hopes that hadn't yet become reality, fears that didn't make sense to anyone else, and questions that had no immediate answers. And somehow, instead of those conversations making me feel weaker, they made me feel lighter. The weight wasn't gone, but it was no longer mine to carry by myself. You taught me that vulnerability isn't about surrendering your strength, it's about sharing your humanity. There's a profound difference. Weakness is allowing fear to stop you. Vulnerability is moving forward despite fear, while allowing someone to walk beside you. That kind of courage doesn't always make headlines, but it transforms a life from the inside out. I began to understand that trust is one of the greatest acts of confidence a person can offer. When you trust someone with your heart, you're saying, I believe this connection is worth the risk. Every meaningful relationship requires that leap. There are no guarantees, no contracts that protect you from disappointment. There is only the decision to believe that love is stronger than the fear of being hurt. Because of you, I stopped seeing emotions as obstacles to overcome. I started seeing them as reminders that I was fully alive. Joy became richer because it was shared. Disappointment became more bearable because it was understood. Even silence became comforting because it was filled with presence instead of distance. You also taught me that the strongest people are not those who never fall. They are the ones who have the courage to admit when they need someone, the wisdom to receive support without shame, and the confidence to know that accepting love doesn't diminish independence, it strengthens it. Real confidence doesn't come from convincing the world that you're unbreakable. It comes from knowing that even if life tests you, you won't have to face it alone. Today, when I think about strength, I no longer picture someone standing by themselves against the world. I picture two people standing together, facing the unknown with honesty instead of fear, with trust instead of pride, and with love instead of pretense. Because in the end, the greatest strength isn't found in the walls we build around our hearts. It's found in the courage to open those hearts and discover they become stronger, not weaker, when someone truly holds them. As our journey continued, I noticed something that I never expected. The moments that stayed with me weren't always the dramatic ones. They weren't the celebrations after a breakthrough, the applause after a presentation, or the excitement of reaching another milestone. Those moments mattered, of course, but they faded much faster than I imagined. What remained were the quiet moments that no one else ever saw. I started remembering the conversations that lasted long after the world had gone quiet, the simple walks where there was no destination to reach, the laughter that came from absolutely nothing important, the comfortable silence where neither of us felt the need to fill every second with words. Those moments had no audience, no cameras, no headlines, yet somehow they became the richest memories of all. For so long I believed that extraordinary experiences were what made a life extraordinary. I chased the next impossible goal because I thought fulfillment lived somewhere beyond the next achievement. But love has a remarkable way of changing your perspective. It teaches you that life isn't only built in the extraordinary, it's built in the ordinary moments repeated with extraordinary care. There is something powerful about coming home after a difficult day and finding peace in someone's presence. You begin to realize that not every victory needs to be announced. Some victories are invisible. A shared smile after a stressful day, a reassuring hand when words aren't enough, a look that says, I'm here without speaking at all. Those are the moments that quietly restore your strength. I also discovered that time is the most valuable gift we can ever give another person. We can always earn more recognition, build more projects, or chase another dream, but we can never create more time. Every meal shared, every conversation enjoyed without distraction, every sunset watched together becomes part of a story that no success can replace. I began to understand that being fully present is one of the purest expressions of love. The world often encourages us to think bigger, move faster, and achieve more. There is value in ambition, but there is also wisdom in slowing down long enough to notice what truly matters. Sometimes happiness isn't waiting at the finish line. Sometimes it's sitting beside you while you're still on the journey, quietly reminding you that this very moment is already worth appreciating. You helped me see beauty where I used to overlook it. A morning conversation became more meaningful than another meeting. A shared cup of coffee carried more peace than another award. Watching you smile after an ordinary day became more satisfying than hearing another round of applause. None of these moments changed the world, but every one of them changed me. Looking back, I realized that the greatest chapters of life are rarely written during the loudest moments. They are written in the quiet spaces between them, where love grows without demanding attention, and where gratitude quietly replaces the constant hunger for more. And if I were asked to choose between reliving my greatest accomplishments or reliving one more ordinary day with you, I would choose the ordinary day every single time, because it was in those small moments that I finally discovered what a truly extraordinary life feels like. If you're watching this someday, maybe years from now. I hope life has reminded you of all the things I tried to say when words never seemed big enough. There are some truths that become clearer with time, and this is one of them. Loving you was never a single moment, never one grand declaration, and never just a feeling that arrived unexpectedly. It became a choice I made over and over again, every morning, every challenge, every uncertain season, every new beginning. And if time has taught me anything, it's that the strongest love isn't built on perfect days. It is built on the decision to stay faithful to what matters, even when life becomes complicated. People often think commitment is something dramatic, as though it only reveals itself during life's biggest moments. But I have learned that commitment is usually quiet. It looks like listening when you're tired. It looks like believing in someone when they begin to doubt themselves. It looks like making space for another person's dreams while still pursuing your own. Love isn't proven by one unforgettable day. It's proven by thousands of ordinary ones where you keep showing up with the same heart. If distance has ever separated us, I hope you remembered this. Distance can change where two people stand, but it doesn't have to change what they mean to each other. If challenges ever tested us, I hope you knew I never saw them as reasons to leave. Every meaningful journey encounters storms. The purpose of the storm isn't always to destroy what you've built. Sometimes it reveals whether the foundation is strong enough to endure. You taught me that choosing someone doesn't mean choosing perfection. It means choosing growth. It means accepting that both people will change over time and deciding to grow together instead of growing apart. We are never the same people we were yesterday, and that's what makes love so remarkable. It continually invites us to rediscover each other, to fall in love again, not with an idealized memory, but with the person standing before us today. I also want you to know that you gave me something no achievement ever could. You reminded me that behind every ambitious dream should be a deeply human reason. Every goal I pursued became more meaningful because I imagined sharing its joy with you. Every difficult season became more bearable because your belief never depended on perfect results. You loved the person behind the progress, and that changed the way I looked at both success and myself. If there were moments when I didn't express that clearly enough, I hope this message reaches your heart, not because I expect anything in return, but because gratitude deserves to be spoken while we still have the chance. Thank you for seeing me beyond appearances. Thank you for believing in me during uncertain seasons. Thank you for reminding me that strength and kindness can exist together, that ambition and love don't compete, and that the greatest journeys are never meant to be walked alone. So if this message ever finds you in a season where you're wondering what you truly meant to me, let there be no uncertainty. Through every triumph, every setback, every lesson, and every new horizon, my heart kept returning to the same quiet truth. Long before I understood the full meaning of love, I found it in you. And of all the choices that shaped my life, the one I will always be proudest of is that I never stopped choosing you.